The death toll is now at 11 in Surfside, Florida, as rescuers continue to search through the rubble, where rescue workers are searching around the clock, quite frankly, for potential survivors following last week's building collapse. While it's still unclear what caused the 40-year-old condo to crumble, a contractor who visited the building just 36 hours before the tragedy shared these photos with the Miami Herald. They appear to show cracked concrete and severe corroding under the swimming pool area. However, it's still unclear if these conditions contributed to the tragedy. David Begnaud is following the latest.
You know, 75 days before the tower collapsed right behind me, the head of the condo association wrote a letter to members where she told them that things were getting significantly worse, and she warned that the deterioration of concrete in the basement garage of the building was accelerating at a rapid pace. And she said it's going to cost millions of dollars to fix it, and we can keep arguing about it if we want, but we've got to do something. That letter was obtained by USA Today, and the woman who wrote it survived the collapse. Seems like every day things keep seeping out, we keep getting new bits of information. But the focus of all of this remains where it should right now, on the victims.
This picture is my son, Luis Andres, which you can see all pictures and you will see this smile.
The last time Luis Bermudez saw his son, Luis Andres, was right before Father's Day.
He told me, Papi, don't worry, I'm not going to spend the day with you, but all the days are your days.
This 26-year-old young man spent most of his life battling muscular dystrophy, and his father was right there by his side. In the early morning hours of June 24th, Luis was with his mother, Ana Ortiz, when the Champlain Tower collapsed. Their bodies were recovered on Saturday. 150 people are still missing under 12 stories of rubble and debris.
We're not lifting, floor by floor. We're talking about pulverized concrete. We're talking about steel. Every time there's an action, there's a reaction.
We still don't know exactly what caused that building to collapse. There is concerning new information about possible structural damage. There's an anonymous contractor who shared these photos with the Miami Herald. They show a wet floor, cracked concrete, and severely corroded rebar in the building's pool equipment room. And these photos were taken just 2 days before the building collapsed. That anonymous contractor also reported deep standing water in the parking garage just below the pool deck. It is not known if either played a role in the collapse. While most of the victims' families are still waiting for an answer this morning, Luis Bermudez is preparing to take his only child back to Puerto Rico. A young man who had not walked since the age of 9, survived heart surgery, a stroke, a spinal cord injury, only to die this way.
And he was teaching me. That boy was in a wheelchair and in a bed all day, and he was teaching you how to live life and how to be happy. I miss him a lot, and I'm gonna miss him every second of every day, every minute on the whole world.
As Luis was losing his ability to write toward the end of his life, his father says he would put a color in between his 2 fingers and he would guide his son's hand. Luis was a graphic artist, and he made some pretty impressive art that is now displayed on shirts and hats and handed out by his father in a way of celebrating his son's talent. At the end of his life, the only thing Luis could do was talk softly and smile. Anne-Marie.
All right, David, thank you. And with me now is Brooke Shafer from our Miami station. She joins us from the command center in Surfside, Florida. So first off, Brooke, what's going on at the command center right now?
Well, Anne-Marie, here at the command center, this is where we get those press briefings. This is where we hear from police, fire rescue, and those search and rescue teams. And so we are expecting an update around 11:30 this morning. But this is where we really get that detailed look into exactly what search and rescue teams are having to deal with as they look for people still potentially under the rubble. Those numbers, every time we hear them, they are jarring. They're difficult to hear. At this point, 150 people still unaccounted for. That death toll up to 11 now.
Yeah, 150 unaccounted for. Only 11 people have been confirmed dead. I think a lot of people are wondering, quite frankly, why is it taking so long? So can you give us a sense of just where the rescuers are focusing their efforts and what strategy they are using?
Well, they've told us that rescuers are looking at this sort of in a grid. I mean, it's really a massive pile of rubble, so they have to kind of go grid by grid. They're focusing on specific areas, but they did tell us that they have about 6 to 8 teams on that pile of rubble at any given time, and then they have hundreds of people waiting on standby to relieve those search and rescue teams that are working 12 hours on, 12 hours off. But a big concern out here, Anne-Marie, is they're worried about potentially shifting the rubble too much. That's why they have to be incredibly tedious, incredibly meticulous and careful as they go through the pile and as they move pieces of concrete. We've been told that right now they're really trying to focus on some of those voids that are potentially there in the rubble, any voids where people could potentially be safe right now. And so they have to be extremely careful as they're moving things to not potentially mess up one of those voids where people could be safe.
Yeah, of course, you know, family members hoping for a miracle, hoping that within that void, you know, that someone was able to survive. And that is part of the reason why this search has to be so painstaking and slow. We've got the images shared by a contractor with the Miami Herald showing cracked concrete and corrosion. A former maintenance manager was also quoted saying that the building was often flooded by salt water coming up through the foundation. What more do we know about all of this?
Well, I'll tell you, there's certainly a lot of attention on that reporting and on those images. It is difficult to see, especially knowing, as we've been saying, 150 people still unaccounted for. Right now, we know that investigators are looking really at all angles, and that will certainly be one of them. But as this investigation starts, what they have continued to tell us is that right now, the priority is search and rescue. And at this point here in Surfside, it is still a search and rescue mission. That is their main focus. But certainly a lot of people looking into this, and on the ground as well, we have investigators already starting to look into exactly how something like this could happen. Those answers, or those questions rather, must be answered, and they will be answered, but that of course will take some time. Right now the priority here, search and rescue.
There's certainly been a lot of analysis of that video that we've all seen of a portion of the building coming down, and some have said that it looks like you know, the collapse started from the bottom. In terms of that information and the investigation, how are things going?
Well, I'll be honest, they haven't told us a lot about that yet. We've asked during press conferences, and they just keep reiterating that right now the priority is search and rescue. Of course, that investigation is happening and will continue to happen, but right now their priority is potentially finding people still alive in that rubble. But I will tell you, the way that the building collapsed has made this an incredibly difficult search and rescue for the teams here on the ground. They have described it sort of as a pancake, an accordion really, if you will. The building sort of flattened, and so there are layers upon layers of this building. And they've been saying that, unfortunately, even if you look at this, you might think, okay, they can go floor by floor, but unfortunately that's not really the case. They have to be incredibly careful, and again, be careful not to potentially mess up any voids where people could be safe right now. So they can't necessarily just go and pick up massive pieces of concrete and go really floor by floor. They have to be incredibly careful, incredibly tedious, and unfortunately, like you said, this is painstakingly slow for everyone, especially for those families of the 150 still unaccounted for here in Surfside.
Yeah, they just want answers. We all just want answers. Brooke, thank you very much.